Oh,
What?
God. I thought I lost you for a second
Oh,
because
I thought I lost me too.
it's fucking Skype.
I'm
And
confused.
also joining us is your co-host Hunter.
What's going on, everybody?
Hi. And for the fourth or fifth time back on the show, I can't even remember your current title, Chris, because I've been mired in this game for the last week. Chris Stockman, who worked on Fleets of Soul and Battle for Soul, which, by the way, quick plug, is on sale right now as we record this in the Steam Weekly Sale. Both games are on sale and in a small bundle as well. So if you haven't picked those up yet, you should. Just
Whoop
saying.
whoop.
You should.
Welcome back, Chris. This is at least your fourth or fifth time here. We lost count. We don't know.
Yep, thank you. Thank you. Good to be back. Good to be talking
I'm-
about really a great game that I worked on that very few people really know about. So,
Yeah, you're welcome. We're glad to have you on.
Well, here's the funny thing about that, because I've been meaning to play this game for years, because I thought Elite Force was kind of all right, you know,
yeah.
but I never liked Voyager, so I thought this was another Voyager game, so I avoided it until people told me, no, it's great, you have to have it. So it took me forever to find an affordable copy, because they go for bank on eBay, you guys. You can't get this digitally.
Let me
Oh.
tell you something. I still have my copy that I bought when it was still on store shelves. Like, that's the one that I'm currently playing with.
So you,
Nice.
you have the original 13-year-old.
Correct. Like,
By the way-
I've had it ever since it was released.
Have
So
we said the name of the game yet? Guys, we're talking about
Star Trek Elite Force 2.
Yeah, Star Trek Elite Force 2, which came out in 2003 from Ritual and Activision, I believe.
That's right. Yep.
And what got us on this is that, Hunter, you talking about how you were getting it to run, how it ran a widescreen and everything. And I'm like, oh, I haven't played it, even though I bought it like a month ago. And Chris chimes in, oh, I worked on that.
Yeah. Well,
We're
crazy.
like, what?
Crazy thing enough was I was looking at all of the games that had been coming out, and I'd been thinking to myself, man, there just doesn't seem to be anything that's really just getting me. Let me go into my backlog of games that I've actually never completed and see what I've got. And Elite Force 2 was like, hey, I've been sitting here for the last 13 years, dude. Like, play me. And so I beat the first one and the expansion, loved it, and never actually started playing this one. So loaded it up, and come to find out, the game just installed like on Windows 10 and works like it no problem, which is a
Yep.
testament, I guess. That's pretty cool.
That is super impressive, because these days to get an old game like this to work on modern OSs it can be a real hurdle. It can be a real struggle, because sometimes it won't install from the disk. Sometimes you have to set 18 compatibility modes. But this game,
Got to
boom.
get like a community patch.
Yeah, exactly. But this game, boom, right out the box from the disc, no problem.
Yeah, I installed it as well and was pleasantly surprised that I was able to fire it up, and it brought back some memories. That's for sure.
Well, let's talk about those memories. You said you started working at Ritual before this game. Let's start from there. When did you start working for Ritual, and what did you work on leading up to this one?
Well, I started there in 2000, and it was like in the summer of 2000, almost about I guess June of 2000, and I was hired by a very close friend of mine that we knew each other from our Single Track days. And I don't know, Single Track was the company behind Jet Moto and Twisted Metal back on the original PlayStation, and so.
Oh yeah, I love those games.
And yeah, we met there, and then when I left Single Track, he ended up leaving shortly thereafter, and he came to Ritual, and then he hired me on to help him work on and finish a Blair Witch budget title that was part two of a trilogy of Blair Witch games that were released to coincide with the sequel, the dreaded, terrible sequel that the Blair Witch movie didn't need, but
Will you be making one for the new movie?
no.
Wait, what? There's a new Blair Witch coming out?
Yes.
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 What?
I don't. It's something that's not needed. I don't know. It's Hollywood is just dead. No one has ideas anymore. Let's just
It's mental bankruptcy. If it's not superheroes, we got to dig something up from like the 70s.
It's just, yeah, it's anyway, the sequel was terrible, and the games that we made, there were three of them. They were not at all connected. We made the second one, and then the other companies, Human Head made the first one that came out, and then Terminal Reality made the last one that came out. And it was a very short project. It was like 6 months, I think. And I killed myself for that game. We all did, really. I worked basically anywhere between 18 to 20-hour days, and I only went home to shower in the mornings, and I would sleep under my desk, basically. And so it was nonstop work. And I did it because there was a bonus tied to shipping the game by October, by Halloween, basically, and I got a measly $5,000 out of it, which, looking back, I killed myself for basically, back then it was a lot of money to me, but looking back, it's like it's
Hey,
still.
you could buy like 6 Oculus Rifts with that, though.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, back then it was a lot, but now it's like I look back and I'm like, ugh. I mean, just killed myself. So yeah. So after that shipped, Ritual was an independent studio, always looking for their next project, so to speak. And we sort of didn't do anything for a little while, and I pitched some projects to some publishers for original property games, but ultimately Activision came to us and said, we would like you to make Elite Force 2. And we jumped at the chance, and it was a great experience. I mean, I learned a ton about first-person shooters. I'd never made one before. I got to meet Patrick Stewart and got to meet Tony Todd and the dude that played Face on the 18 Murdoch.
Dirk Benedict.
Yeah, Dirk Benedict. Yeah, he was a voiceover artist for our game. Played his original character from Next Generation. Patrick Stewart, of course, played Picard.
Oh, really? Sorry.
Oh, I thought he played a guy named Phil. Oh, Jesus. So I'm playing this game live while I usually don't do that anymore, but this game, it's a first-person shooter. We gotta play it live. Oh, crap. And I've been stuck on the first level for a while, but I love how much is going on here. Like, I have a couple questions before I get to how.
Tutorial time.
Do you know why Activision didn't stick with Raven for the sequel?
I think because they were busy working on their own property stuff, their own games, and they didn't have time or the bandwidth to do it. And I believe that Activision was contractually obligated to deliver a sequel per the Paramount contract. And so that's why they contacted us. And Ritual had experience with first-person shooters. They're primarily a FPS house, and so we were a pretty good fit. It's interesting because the company was really divided into two teams. You had all the owners of the company on one team. That was Level Lord and Tom and Rob, and then you had what was considered the B team, which was myself and John, the producer, who was the close friend of mine that brought me on board. And we basically staffed up for this. When we got the project, we staffed up and we hired, like crazy to get the number of people that we needed for the project. But the interesting thing is we ended up becoming the only team in the span that I was there that actually shipped a product twice.
Wow.
Shipped two products. The A team's projects kept getting canceled. They were working with EA on a variety of projects, and they just kept getting canceled or shuffled around, or and so we were like, in the entire 3 years that I was there, the B team, whatever, is the only team that actually shipped anything. So
That's hilarious. Oh, shit. Okay.
So, what engine is this game made in?
Quake 3, heavily modified Quake 3.
See, I thought so. There's a few games around that area that came out. I think some of the Jedi Knight games were Quake 3.
Yep. I think. Yep. Soldier of Fortune 3, I think was Quake. There was a lot of Quake 3 powered games. I mean, a lot.
There were, and it was a pretty good engine. I really like the modability of it as well.
Yeah, heavily moddable, and pretty mature, pretty stable.
They just don't make them like they used to.
Well, now it's like 2 engines for all, right?
It's like Unreal, and it's like
Unity.
Unity, yeah.
Unless you're a big company, you can roll your own.
Yeah, how often does that happen? So
If I had $118 million, maybe I could have made one.
Oh, hey,
snap.
so I have a question while we're still talking studio stuff, though. So the whole the mercenary game studio like that, like you said, they're like forever hunting for a project, right? So would that be like Take-Two or somebody would bring them an IP and say, we need you to do this? Or so it's like they just sit and wait. It's like you can't come up with your own idea and say, hey, we want to make a game about this. It's like you just have to sit and wait and see something.
No. Every independent studio is always pitching their own projects. It just so happens that getting original IP funded is like pulling teeth, right? So it's like publishers tend to stick with using their own IP versus or their own proven IP, or even just their own IP they came up with versus someone else's. So it's really hard to get original IP, funded and published. Not impossible, but really, really difficult. So more often than not, what happens is a independent studio will develop a pitch. They'll take it to a publisher, and then they'll like, oh yeah, this is cool, but how about you attach this IP to it? And that's what happens, 90% of the time.
Oh, jeez. Sorry, this game is intense. I'm still on the first level.
Hey, wait till you get to the level I'm on. It's really intense.
Which levels are you on?
I'm on the one where you're down this planet and these guys are shooting like mortars at you and you're trying to like make your way up the castle or whatever this building is on this planet. It's
the last one, right?
I don't know. I've never played this before and now I'm glitching out. I just hit a glitch. That was interesting. That was a major glitch. Wow, I wish I got that recorded, so we'll have to go back and look at that. So essentially what happened was I was crossing this bridge and it explodes, but I was actually on it when it exploded and I was up in the sky and I was walking around in the sky and then I just floated back down. Everything's fine. That was weird.
Oh, I know what level you're on. I know exactly what level you're on. Yeah, that's not the last one.
It wasn't supposed to happen like that, I'm sure.
No.
Was I supposed to get to the other side? Because I feel like I'm missing something.
I think you were supposed to get on the other side.
Whoops. Anyway.
Have you done the spacewalk yet, or did I just spoil something?
I've done one where you're on the ship doing a spacewalk and there's like guns you get to man.
Yeah.
That one's fun. Brian, you're gonna like that one. Although I feel that I'm gonna be honest with you, I felt that was not very Trek-like.
No, it's not. It's not Trek-like at all.
It felt very out of place. That level, even though it was fun, I was just like, what the hell? There's a giant auto like Yamato cannon on the bottom of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
that what's funny, that level was demanded by Activision because they wanted something to appeal to the non-Trek fans. So it was like a mix of levels, mix of sort of sequences that appeal to Trek fans. Like, for example, like in between the core action missions, you can wander around the Enterprise and talk to people, and you talk to like the 2 different like women in your life.
Yeah, that's actually really awesome. By the way, I really like the. Yeah, there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
What?
I actually came up with that idea of talk, because basically whichever one you talk to the most, that's who you end up with.
Oh, well, then I know who I'm talking to the most.
The blonde tells you.
So you guys basically
Absolutely.
you invented the whole Mass Effect romance tree, huh?
I don't know. Was that me? It was. You know what it was. It was. I had got done playing Nolf 2, and
Oh, such a great game.
yeah, I love that series. And they had a lot of that dialogue choice sequences in those games. And I just remembered, when we were designing this, I was like, man, we have these love interests in his life. It'd be cool if you could, whoever you showed more attention to, you ultimately ended up with. But I got the idea from Nolf because I think or Nolf 2. I think they did that in Nolf 2. I don't think they did exactly that. But
If you could have had some kind of clockwork poodle in this game as well, that would have been great.
What was a total missed opportunity, honestly, and I still kick myself for this, is that we should have added, if you talk to both equally, you got both of them at the end.
Whoa.
That would have been very Kirk of us. What? You right there, Bri?
Yeah, that would have been very Kirk. Oh, sorry.
They couldn't do that in the 60s.
Right.
I don't know if they could do that now.
No, it'd be like Black Dynamite.
So I haven't gotten to the Enterprise
You know,
yet.
wake up.
I haven't gotten to the Enterprise yet, clearly. But what I've been told is that the game models most of it. Is that right?
The Enterprise is big shit. I wouldn't say most of it, but we did receive the blueprints and we did model all the levels in those Enterprise levels off of those blueprints.
It's a big ship. Wow. Things happen. Goes boom. That's my one Christopher Walken. Sorry.
Gets attacked quite severely.
It does actually. There's a lot of interesting things that happen. But really? I'm personally way past that. But whatever.
Yeah. Have you gotten to the Ferengi part yet?
What?
No.
Okay.
No. I do like the fact that you guys have had with the use of this engine with the modability and stuff. It's made it available for people to make custom maps, like ship maps and stuff like that.
Is there a community that's still making maps for this game?
I don't know if they're still making maps for this game. I just remember that, like with Elite Force 1, for example, and this one, there were quite a few that were made. Like, historical maps of ships that you could just go like wandering around and exploring, like no real purpose, just like.
According to Violent Blue in YouTube chat, you can do all that. There are maps where you can just wander around like entire ships, apparently. That's crazy.
So, Brian, I actually have a question. Where did you buy the game?
I got it on eBay for about $30, and I'll be honest with you, that's the cheapest I found. I had it shortly after I started the site. Someone asked Space Game Junkie. Someone's like, "Have you played Elite Force? The Elite Force games?" I'm like, "Yeah, I played the first one. I don't know about the second one." They're like, "Dude, the second one's so much better than the first. You have to play the second one." So I had my eye on it for a long time on eBay, and it goes for 60, 80. It's not available digitally. There's apparently a demand. There's apparently a demand for it. What happened?
I'm just reading chat on YouTube. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Oh, apparently Violent Blue says you can have two women. I don't know if that's a mod or what he's referring to.
I think she's referring to real life, but you know what? We're just gonna move on.
Oh, got it.
We're just gonna move right along.
I thought you meant in the game, because that's where my mind is. But no, I got it on eBay for like $30 a few months ago, which is the cheapest I'd ever seen it. I felt very fortunate.
Well, the reason why the game is so expensive is because they only made 50,000 copies of them. And
what?
Yeah, let's talk about that. You mentioned that briefly in Facebook. Why is that?
So near the tail end of development, that terrible Star Trek movie came out, the last Next Generation movie. The movie
Nemesis.
Really quite bad. It bombed at the box office, and so Activision desperately wanted to get out of the contract with Paramount that they were in. So they sued Paramount, and they sued him for mismanagement of the IP.
What?
What?
Yeah, yeah. And so they claimed that Paramount's, decisions when it comes to the Star Trek franchise were so bad that it negatively reflected on the sales of all their Star Trek games. And so they
Wow.
decided to only press 50,000 copies because they wanted to show that it didn't sell well for them, and that this was just another long line of failures for the Star Trek franchise, and that no one was buying Star Trek games because of Paramount's mismanagement of the franchise, including Enterprise, the show Enterprise, and
Well, I would argue that one, yes.
yeah, and Nemesis, and so
Yeah, but they sabotaged you and your royalties because they just wanted to make a point, right?
Yeah, and Ritual never worked with Activision again after that, and the complete relationship was really bad because they were going to make Elite Force 3 in the Doom 3 engine, and it had already started working on it. Yeah,
That would have been amazing. What?
That would have been amazing.
Oh no.
yeah, and yeah, that got canceled right when the lawsuit was filed, and that was the end of that, so to speak.
So they sabotaged their own game to show that, hey, you're not treating our game well or the property well. What?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Jesus
Okay,
Christ.
so I just fell off the bridge, and there is this giant lizard monster down in the water. That does not look fun.
I started playing it the other day, and I'm still
I killed
on
it.
the beginning levels as well.
I really do like I like that there's not only kind of a puzzle aspect to kind of getting around the levels. The levels are very well designed so far. I've played a couple multiplayer ones just to test them out too. But I like how there's a like collecting aspect, like you collect the gold ships.
Yeah. Do you like the tricorder puzzles?
I love
The tricorder puzzles are interesting.
I love the tricorder stuff. Yes.
I wouldn't say I
just-
love it, but it does add a unique element.
They're
I'll
like
say this: this is a damn sight better than the ground stuff in Star Trek Online.
Yes. If they were to somehow have mixed the ground stuff with this game, yeah.
The tricorder puzzles were a product of a very talented designer named Benson Russell, who went off and worked at I think he worked at EALA for a while, and then he went off and worked at Naughty Dog and worked on almost all the Uncharted, but the very last one, and now he's at Infinity Ward working on Call of Duty, but yeah, he like scripted. He had this idea for these tricorder puzzles, and he took it upon himself, basically scripted the entire system out. So I mean, all those tricorder puzzles are like hardcore Quake script, which is basically programming. You program all those out on top of designing a couple levels. And he actually came from. We actually hired a bunch of people from him. He was one of them. 2015. And I don't know if you remember that company, but they did the very first Medal of Honor for the PC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we hired like 3 level designers from 2015, and one of them is still in the Dallas area and works at id, and then the other is a longtime Epic guy and has worked on all the Gears of Wars. And then yeah, Benson went off and did Uncharted. So yeah, some really talented people that worked on that game is sort of what I was getting to.
Oh, I got a boss fight now. I got a big drone or something.
Ooh, I was just taking
the
captive.
Nautican. It's the big Borgified.
Oh, yeah, it's the Borg Nautican. Oh, God, that guy's ungodly huge.
Oh God, that's exactly what this is. Oh my God, any tips?
Yeah, you got to blow up the pillars around the sides, and it like injures them, and then it gives you opportunities to hit them.
Yeah.
Any particular any weapon better than any other weapon, or?
God, it's been so long since I played it.
Yeah, you gotta I think you gotta tricorder something on the backside of all the pillars.
Oh, for God's sakes! What? Okay. Ow.
Dude, we can't just create.
I see it.
pup-
I see it.
meat bags need some skill.
Violent Blue was like, that Borg monster is big, but he has a nice looking waist.
Ah, crap. The shit only stays down. The shit only stays down for like a second. Crap. Okay. I'll run to this one. Yeah, this is hard. I don't think I'm gonna make it. I don't think I'm gonna make this.
So, what was all involved with like some of the voice acting stuff? Like how, I don't know where I was going with that. I had the question in my mind and then I missed it. So, what was all involved with like some of the voice acting stuff? Like how,
What the what?
I don't know where I was going with that. I had the question in my mind and then I missed it. So, did anybody else hear the echo?
Yeah.
Oh, it's off of Chris. That's what it is.
It's off of me.
Yes.
Yes.
That's weird.
The echo? Oh, it's off of Chris. That's what it is.
What the what?
Yeah, you probably somehow turned on audio and you're watching the YouTube.
I think I
Just
got
mute the
stuck
YouTube,
inside
you're
a
good.
shield. I did. I totally
Oh.
got stuck inside a shield.
Technical difficulties.
Sorry about that. I was watching the YouTube video, and that's what happened. Yeah.
Oh.
It's all good. It's all good. No, I was really wanting to know, like, what kind of, do you know any of the processes involved with just doing like the voice acting with the game itself? And
Oh yeah, I participated in all of the voiceover sessions. So I helped write the game. We actually Activision hired a professional writer, and him and I sort of banged out the flow of the game and the major story beats, and then basically what I did is I wrote basically, you would call it like a first pass dialogue lines, and then it was passed off to the writer to sort of Star Trekify it basically.
Well,
Can
did they come to you and say like, "Here's the story," or were you guys just like, "Okay, we're gonna make a Star Trek game now. We got to figure out what the hell we're even gonna do"?
So initially, that's a good question. Initially, we created the story, and our story was about a terrorist faction that blows up Starfleet Academy, and then you go on like a revenge sort of kick to take
Wow,
out.
they totally ripped you off, man, for the
Well,
Into Darkness movie. Did you have teleporters that would go like from Earth to Kronos?
Kronos?
Ah.
Yeah, it was.
Worst mechanic ever.
I hated that so much.
Well, the crazy thing is that I think part of the initial attack was like one of their starships crashed into the Academy, and crashed into the building. And then 9/11 happened, and Activision was like, "Oh, we can't do anything with terrorists." Paramount said the same thing. Both of them were like, "Can't do anything with terrorists. Can't do anything with terrorists." So that's what it. So then they took over the story and basically created their own thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what was it like working with Patrick Stewart? Can you talk about that?
He, consummate professional. He had a multi-game deal with Activision because Activision was doing X-Men games as well. So he would go in and like one day he would be Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard. The next day he'd be Professor X, and so he'd just he'd come in and just bang out his lines, and he very little direction.
Yeah, because I remember his work with the RTS games. The what were those games called?
I know Star Trek What were they?
Well, clearly it's not Elite Force. It was the Armada 1 and 2.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Yeah, Armada. Yeah. He had like a multi-game deal with them. He came in, played, was Captain Picard, just complete professional, but not very personable, right? Not very, he just got in and got out. He didn't really play around or didn't do
He
anything.
was like, "Hey, how the kids? No small talk."
Yeah, it was like just come in and out. Like it didn't seem like he was. I don't know if he had fun or not. Probably not. Guy's been doing this for a long time, right? So, but there were a lot of other actors though, like what's the dude Benedict? What the
Cumberbatch?
face? No. The face on
Dirk Benedict.
Yeah, Dirk Benedict. Yeah. Dude, that guy.
yeah.
That guy was a riot. I mean, holy. The outtakes we got from him were just amazing. Just the shit he would say was. He would go into
Dwight
all his
Schultz?
characters. Oh, that's right. Yes, you're right. Not, dude. Yes, Dwight Schultz. He wasn't face. He was Murdoch.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love Dwight Schultz.
Yeah, Dwight Schultz. That guy's a dude. That guy turned into like a full-time VO actor. Like that's all he does now.
Oh, wait, a what actor?
Voiceover.
Oh, voiceover? Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
apparently it's a good career. Apparently he does quite a bit of it. He was in
Yeah, he does.
He was in a space game a year or two ago called Agent Space.
Yeah, and he did Harley Quinn on Batman.
What?
No, I'm kidding. That was Tara Strong.
I was
I
going to
just
say,
wanted to
like,
see if-
what?
Yeah, it's like, but
See if we're paying attention.
dude,
Exactly.
that guy is awesome. Like we would have him do, even he would go into like Murdoch mode and like did a bunch of Murdoch lines, like as if Murdoch was in the game. That was awesome.
Oh, my
man.
God.
And Tony Todd was an awesome dude too. That guy was.
I did get to meet Tony Todd once at a Star Trek convention. He was so nice.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
Can you imagine if
And
Mr.
so
T
big. He's a
been
huge
cast as a
man.
Klingon?
Real quick, who does the voice acting for the main guy in the game? You like the guy you play in the game?
Oh, Monroe.
Oh,
Yeah.
Alex Monroe. Oh, man. I don't know. Let's find out. That's pretty easy to find out.
Because that voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I think that were a voice in the game that went off to have really sort of lucrative careers. Here we go. Prolific.
So, what would you say got more love in this game, the single player or the multiplayer? Out of sheer curiosity.
Oh, single player for sure, no doubt about it.
That's good.
Well, multiplayer wouldn't have been that much of a problem, though, wouldn't it? I mean, it's the Quake 3 engine, so I mean, it's just kind of really like, give it the assets and go, right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really spend a ton of time creating like all of these, special, unique modes. It was, I wouldn't call it an afterthought, but as close to it as it could be. We just knew that we just didn't think that that's not what people would buy this game for. They would buy it for the Star Trek story and getting to interact with, the Picard and the other Star Trek characters in the game. So multiplayer was just not something we had to do, but it wasn't something that we spent a ton of time on. So I'm looking at the credits. The Alexander Monroe's the guy. His name is Reno Romano. I don't know what else he's done.
That doesn't sound familiar at all.
No, but I forgot that Tim Russ was in it. He replayed his
Tuvok.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jeffrey Combs was in it. He was
Oh my God, I love Jeffrey Combs so much.
Yeah, he played an Andorian, who also he was also the Andorian in Enterprise, the best
That's
character.
right. He was like the best character on that show.
Really? He was on
Yeah.
Enterprise? Well, now I have to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays an Andorian. He isn't that the same guy though who plays Wei Yun
And Brunt.
Yes.
and
Yep.
Brunt?
And
That's
Brunt.
right.
Same guy. Yep. Same guy.
I don't know. I feel like as sniveling as Wei Yun can be, he was such a great character.
I love Wei Yun so much because he I love how he
Which
did.
Wei Yun 5 or Wei Yun 4?
The one who wouldn't take shit from Ducat. That's the one. The one who was like, Ducat was like, yes, of course you're going to win. And he's like, no. Be cautious. We haven't won yet. I love that Wei Yun right there. Like, yeah, don't get too big, Ducat. Yeah, that's the Wei Yun I love.
And then J.G. Hertzler. Now, J.G. Hertzler
Oh, wow. Yeah.
is a Klingon in Next Generation. He played the Chancellor dude.
At the end of Deep Space Nine, yeah, he was elected Chancellor. What the fuck was his name? Oh shit.
Galron? Are you talking about
No,
Galron?
not Gowron.
Gowron.
No,
Yeah.
not Gowron. Gowron got killed.
Steve.
Spoilers, everyone. No. Who the fuck was Hertzler? Oh shit, hang on.
So you talking about the Klingon who does the voice, the guy who does the voice of the Klingon in this game?
Yeah.
That's the same guy who played as Worf's brother.
That's Tony Todd.
Yeah, that was Tony Todd. No, J.G. Hertzler, he played Gowron. He didn't play Gowron in Elite Force 2, but because Gowron died, right? But he did play. I think he played a Klingon in the game.
Huh.
So the multiplayer in this thing, was that a thing that you had intended right from the top, or it's like, well, it's Quake, we should do that,
Yeah.
or was it a thing that they demanded, like, no, everything must have multiplayer now?
Well, probably a little bit of both.
So what modes does it have? Is it
His
just
name
like a
was
deathmatch thing?
Martok. Sorry, his name was Martok on Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah, Martok.
Martok. Yes. Sorry, just had to throw that in there before we got angry emails. He was Martok.
Man, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't remember too much about the multiplayer.
Well, we're gonna find out on Thursday because that's what we're playing, and we
Yeah.
were
Yeah,
happy.
you can
to
show
see-
up for that.
Yeah, you
I
can
will.
totally show up for that. And we were happy to find out that with using Evolve to simulate a LAN, it worked. It worked great.
It did. Yeah, send me instructions on how to connect to you guys.
Will do
It's
after the podcast.
It's shockingly easy.
Awesome.
Oh wow, I'm fighting this like cloaking monster dude. What the fuck? Sorry, F-bomb. My bad, guys.
I'm just walking around Starfleet headquarters like, hey, walking in this office. What? What's
This thing's
going
called
on?
a stalker. Go away, stalker.
Yeah.
Can I talk to people?
Cadet.
Thank you, sir, but I can't really talk right now.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm looking at the credits. So yeah, the two girls that you talk to is Telsia Murphy and then Juliet Giroux.
Well, one of them was from the first game too, though. Like the
Telsia was, yeah.
yes.
Yeah. All the original actors from the first game came back except the female actor. Remember in the first game you could pick between a male or female?
yeah.
Vaguely, yes.
So you could pick between the male and female character that, to play as, and we ended up axing the female part because we wanted a story that
Greetings.
was a little bit more focused.
Tuvok, what are you doing here?
So yeah, we got some shit for that, but oh well.
Thanks, but I don't want to leave back.
Only
Really?
50,000 people bought the game, so what are you gonna do?
I didn't care personally. I think back then it wasn't really that big of a deal in my opinion. But I'm actually kind of surprised you got shit for it, to be honest.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I don't think they would have gotten shit for it if the first game hadn't allowed it. Like, if you were just male in the first game and then just male in the second game, people probably wouldn't have given it a second thought, is
Right.
my thought. But since that option was taken away, people are like, the option was taken away. So I kind of get it. Kind of. Sort of. It's not
As a
great.
girl, I like to play a girl. Well, I understand that, Blue.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. That's
No,
totally
I play as a girl myself because if I have to stare at the backside of something for 100 hours, it's not going to be a man's square ass. That's for sure.
See, I just imagine that as my virtual ass, and don't have a second thought.
You're like, look at that ass.
Look at that. I'm all about that ass.
Are you all like, honey, come here, check out my ass? No.
It depends on if the game allows you to configure your ass, because some games do allow that.
It's like a booty slider.
When you're creating your character. Yeah, there is. Wasn't there a couple of games that let you do that? I don't.
There are
remember.
many, yes.
I don't remember.
There was one
You know-
level that was axed in the game that I still to this day thought it would be the coolest experience level. Not really a traditional level in the sense, but like a short, I don't know, I would say maybe 10 to 15 minute long sort of experience. And it was a sequence where you were in a shuttle and the shuttle was falling through the atmosphere of a planet, and you basically had to use your tricorder to restore power and basically warp out before you crash.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
and you could see out of the display, the screen, and it was literally like going through the atmosphere. You saw like it heating up and all of it, as you're plunging through to the depths below, to the planet below. But yeah, and it was supposed to only be like 10, like I said, 10, 15 minutes long. And
Man, these are the worst cadets ever. I'm like a lieutenant or whatever, and I'm like, hey, cadet. And they're like, whatever, I don't want to talk to you. I'm like, excuse me?
oh, you're at Starfleet Academy now.
Yeah, these are the worst cadets in the world.
There was an incident where I was at the academy as well, and I'm walking around. And I stop because you can actually listen to them have conversations. And there's these two girls that are having a conversation about, hey, the Voyager crew, they're back. Wouldn't it be great to like talk to one of them? And I'm like, I'm standing right here, and then they just like turn around and walk away, and I'm like, you are insulting.
I think we're the only game that had this that actually featured the Academy in it.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really well done. Like looking around and stuff. It's like I feel like I'm just looking for Boothby now. I know he's not with us anymore, but
So who actually did the levels in this thing? It was the B team, right?
Well, I mean, we were all considered the B team.
Right, but I mean, it wasn't like Richard was doing it, right? So it was one of you guys.
Yeah. He did some multiplayer maps, but
Barkley's in this. Wow.
yeah, Barkley. Yeah, Dwight Schultz. Yeah.
nice. I love Barkley so much.
And Tom did a multiplayer level as well. Level Lord did, I think, 2 of them, but the core level design group was some of the best level designers I had ever worked with. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like for it being the B team, they sure nailed the hell out of the ship and then that environment out there, and it's like the primitiveness of the Quake engine at the it's just I'm just imagining like if you could redo this in a modern engine like UT4 or something.
Oh, I know, dude. I for the longest time, so few people have got access to this game or played this game. I think it's such a hidden gem. I really wish that I tried to talk Paramount to get me to basically fund to do it for like Xbox Live and PSN back during PS3 and the 360 days. I thought it'd be a great little, I mean, it's a long game. It's like 10 hours long, but I thought it'd be a great way to, get people that love classic sort of shooters.
Yeah, this is definitely a game that deserves to be available digitally. Definitely.
Yeah.
So where are the rights tied up? Like, why can't that happen immediately?
Because there's a lot of Star Trek games that are just not on GOG, for example, and it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, so Activision owns the code, but I think Paramount pretty much owns the rest, and there's no reconciling that basically.
I'm gonna go on a limb here and just say Paramount needs to stop being stingy because the last year or so
they're leaving money on the table.
It's really been just bad. Everything from the fan film stuff to like the stuff that you're talking about here. I mean, that's just like I'm honestly confused as to why they're making these really what seems to be stupid decisions.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's really I can't completely blame them. I mean, Activision, like I said, owns the code, and it's not like they're going to let it go unless they receive a hefty payment or at least part of the royalties. But yeah, it would be stuck between those two. It would have to get approval for both those companies before we could do it.
Well, there's money. I think there's money to be made here because
exactly. I would double dip for a digital copy of this.
Well, let's look, for example, at the Sins of a Solar Empire mod with Star Trek Armada 3 there, and the amount of enthusiasm that was involved with that and the team that was involved with that. And I don't know. You don't see a lot of new Star Trek games coming out, and they're certainly trying to rebrand the franchise. So it's just kind of like, there's an opportunity here, and it would be a shame for them not to jump on it.
Yeah, like I said, it would be trying to convince. I don't even know if I don't even know if the source code still exists. I mean, Ritual's long gone, and I don't think it's theirs to begin with. So Activision may have it in their archives. You'd have to get the assets. I mean, it's I think this is one of those things that's going to be lost. A game sort of lost in time. Good luck finding copies of it. They're rare.
Yeah, they
I
are.
I would gladly donate my copy if it would mean that they could digitally distribute this thing again.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, because I mean, in the is it officially abandonware? Like, can we
I
just
guess
say,
it
hey,
would be 'cause the
abandonware sites?
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. Because Activision.
Because I wouldn't say like ISO Zone had it or anything like that. So
yeah.
Nudge, nudge.
Yeah, I don't even know what it would take to just take the game and put it on.
I'm just kind of a little bit ticked that they screwed you guys as far as distribution and how many copies they pressed and everything. But then again, did it exceed demand, or was it like everybody that wanted it got it, and then it just wasn't languishing on store shelves to be picked up, as an impulse purchase or something?
Hey,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's actually a really great question in chat right now. Someone's asking if they do a new one, would you like to be on the project?
What can I do?
I'd love to work on another Star Trek game. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, Star Trek is such an amazing property. You would think working on a game, you'd want to do it right. But there are just so many, and we don't know how this happens, so many poor Star Trek games. Like, this game seems like more the exception rather than the rule in the fact that it's actually competent and good and fun.
Well, what I wish people would do is the same thing that I wish they would do with movies and fan projects and stuff as well, is make Star Trek stuff that's like nudge wink, not Star Trek, right? Like just sidestep from the IP just enough that you can not be bringing CBS Paramount down on you, but just come up with like some open source IP for a Star Trek similar universe, right?
Well, you know what's great about this game is, and I don't know if Brian, if you've noticed it, is that this game is just like enough like silly, right? Like it's not like a purist thing, right? It's not like because that weapon level where you're on the outside of the Enterprise shooting these giant auto cannons. And they're just kind of like, where did the Enterprise get those? So there's enough silliness in it, but there's still enough Star Trek-y like in it that I think it keeps the games fun, and that's kind of what I miss about these kind of games is that they don't need to be taken too seriously, but yet there's still a fun story being told.
Yeah. It for us, it was like a mix of what people love of the sort of set pieces that people expect, or at least back then expected in first-person shooters. They're way over the top now, but back then you'd have your set pieces that are very memorable moments for a first-person shooter, and then we also had a lot of sort of points in the game where everything sort of slowed down, especially the Enterprise levels, and it was really more about savoring the Star Trek universe and the characters and being able to interact with them in meaningful ways. I mentioned the Ferengi thing, and I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a really sort of awesome fan service moment where you get to outsmart a Ferengi, and it's something that for those fans, it's a nod, it's a wink to the Star Trek fans and say, hey, we hear you, we read you, and this is for you.
Yeah, and there are a lot of nice little touches in here. That's not Worf, by the way.
I'm down on some starbase. There's a bunch of Klingons, humans, Andorians. And someone's talking about a Ferengi, so I have a feeling.
Yeah.
There's a cantina here, and there's some Ryan slave chicks dancing on a stripper pole. Look at that! Wow, is this Twitch safe? Wow. Okay.
$3,000 donation, you know you're doing the right thing. Shake that green booty.
I mean, you get to interact with the Romulans in this game. I mean, there's just so many. It's like one famous Star Trek, alien race after another that you get to interact with or fight against.
And Blue's like, oh my god, Worf's there, and you have a Halo gun. It is kind of Halo looking.
There's a big
laser
Nausicaan
rifle,
bodyguard here.
phaser rifle.
There's also
that's
a lot
on
of
fire.
there's also a lot of crawling in this game. A lot of crawling through ducts. A lot of crawling through ducts.
Early on, there is. It doesn't get.
It tapers off. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely tapers off.
Oh no! I got killed by a duct.
So you start. Did it quack? Did it quack like a duck?
Yes.
So you start out with the Borg, right? And then
Yeah.
where do you go from there? Like, what other enemies show up in this thing? Because it's like I've seen a lot of Borg.
Yeah, the Borg.
The Borg are at the beginning, though.
Yeah, just the beginning, and it basically retells the void. Escaping when the Voyager got back to Earth. Basically, it's retold from the very last episode of Voyager. It sort of we put a bit of a different spin on it, but
You did.
But it's interesting. You got to continue the fiction. So
Well, yes, there was a segment in the last episode of Voyager where they were stuck in a Borg ship and then they weren't, and so and they did say how they did it, but we sort of kind of filled in the gaps, I guess you could say. Maybe put our own little twist on it too, but but you really fight against, for a big part of the game, you fight against these sort of aliens called xenomorphs, and they're like basically they're not sentient. They're like almost animalistic aliens, like the movie Aliens. I mean, it's kind of like those in a sense.
Holy crap! I'm getting ready to get into a cage fight with a Nausicaan and my Batleth. Oh God!
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So you fight against these really hostile aliens, and then it's not every level in the game. They show up in a few places, and I mean ultimately you have to defeat like the evil giant queen, I think, or of these xenomorphs, but then you fight against Romulans and you fight against gosh, I don't know, here and there these hostile aliens, like the Nausicaan that he's talking about with the Batleth.
I'm sorry, I can't crawl through this duct at all. I keep dying. I'm just terrible at crawling through ducts, apparently.
What mission are you on?
I'm still on the second mission. It's called reassignment.
Okay.
Well, the first part of this mission was just wandering around Starfleet Academy.
Hey, there's the Ferengi.
And then talking to that girl who apparently he's engaged to or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then deciding, okay, we're both resigning. No, we're not. You go or whatever. I like that choice. Oh man, I suck at this. Yeah, folks, if you're not watching the thing, I have to crawl through a duct, like a Jeffrey's tube type thing, with a series of open flaming valves that go off at different times, and I've died, I think, about 6 times in a row now. Because you got to time it just right.
You get to quote a rule of acquisition to the Ferengi.
What? That's great.
That's what I didn't want to give it away, but yeah.
Blue says, dude, stop running into the fire.
I know, I'm not trying to. It's just I don't know, like, I don't move fast enough or whatever. It's like, you have to do this, like, exactly right. Or else you will die. Damn it! Whoops. Sorry. This is fun. Oh man, so it's kind of a tragic story, this game, huh? It's a great game and it's well lauded by people who remember it, but like they only made a small amount of copies and like they like sabotaged their own property. That must have been really frustrating at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it was. The thing is that I left pretty much right as the game was wrapping up. I left the company and went to 3D Realms for a bit. But
Did you work on Duke Nukem Forever?
well, for like 3 months. I don't know. You can really,
Not quite forever.
Oh.
Just long enough to understand why it never came out. Actually, long enough to realize why it had taken so long. Let's put it that way.
So explain, why had it taken so long?
Well, there was no direction. There was no no leadership. It was everybody was doing their own thing, and when they would get pretty far because they tried the Valve model, right, where it's just a flat structure and everybody's just doing their own thing and making stuff happen. And you'd have sprints here and there where people would sort of galvanize around a particular goal.
Yeah, well, they rolled the engine so many times too, didn't they?
Well, yes, that's the thing, right? They would, they were on Unreal Tournament for a long time, and then, and then when Doom came out, it was like, oh, lighting, all this, realistic lighting and dynamic lights and whatnot, and so it was like, well, we got to switch. So they switched engines, and then of course, that's not something that you can just do overnight. So they'd spend years rewriting the game, and then there was just an insane quality bar that they wanted to hit that is nice, but you need direction and you need guidance and you need someone saying this is what we're going to do, and these are the levels, and here's the story, and here's the flow, and here's the monsters that you face, and here's this, and here's that, and here's that, and there's just none of that. So you need someone like that for people to rally behind. And when you don't have any of that, everybody's just kind of siloed off in their own, doing whatever, and that's why it never comes out. Or, it does eventually, but, after the company shut down and someone else bought it and put it out. So that's...
Jesus, these Klingons are relentless. Holy crap.
What's going on your end? I'm still stuck in that Jeffries tube.
Well, just like I'm fighting a whole horde of Klingons, and they're just, you shoot them and they don't fall.
Yeah, but I was sad for Ritual for what had happened. I thought Elite Force 2, was a pretty good game given the fact that the Star Trek IP had a really sort of long list of crappy games to it, and I thought we were a bit of a diamond in the rough that everybody sort of forgot about, and then it came out and everybody was like reviewing it like 7s and 8s, and suddenly it was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty good, and then you couldn't find it, and that was that.
Well, that's a shame. It would be really nice to see, something come out of it, like to see, like a new Star Trek like thing, because I think that's just an IP that's just really lacking, because you see all these Star Wars games that come out and all these other sci-fi games, I just feel like the love for Star Trek just isn't that great, because what was the last like Star Trek game that was like that came out? It wasn't Bridge Commander, it was
Star Trek DA. It was Star Trek. It came out the time of Into Darkness. It was the third.
Oh yeah, that one. I never even tried that one. I guess I was thinking of the ship simulator one. The
Bridge Commander.
No. The came out after that.
Oh yeah, Legacy.
Legacy, that piece of crap.
I never played
Yeah, it was
that
not
one.
Not a fan of that thing at all.
Yeah, I didn't play it either.
There was a Star Trek game for the DS that was actually not terrible, surprisingly.
Yeah, it was
No,
also on PSP.
Remember those old 2D Star Trek games from the original crew?
Oh yeah, of course. 25th anniversary and Judgment Rights.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
There's also like the console games too, like the Deep Space Nine game and.
No, guys, I first cut my teeth on the text adventures back in the mid '80s. That's what I first cut my teeth on with Star Trek. Well, and that remember that tactical game, that ASCII tactical Star Trek game that was like big in the '70s. You know what I'm talking about? Like move your ship 120 degrees, fire your photon torpedo 270 degrees, and it's all ASCII characters, and you're fighting Klingons and their Ks, and you're an ampersand or something. You know. Yeah. Yeah, that was good stuff. I just wish that they would make a Star Trek game that was less about combat and more about like the stuff that Star Trek's supposed to be about, which
So
Wink
I have
just touched on in Twitch. What?
Yeah, I have a thought about that specifically. All right. So did you watch Cosmos with Neil deGrasse Tyson?
I did not.
Okay. So you missed out, and you should do that. But what happened was he had his CG spaceship, right? And it was like, okay, I'm on the spaceship of our imagination, and we're gonna fly over to this black hole, and here we are, like on the event horizon, you know, looking down, and he would explain the whatever, right? So I think about like Star Trek combined with an engine like what Elite Dangerous is running, where they actually do simulate galactic phenomena pretty nicely.
Right.
So what about an actual science game where, let's just say the ship, it's a science ship, right? You're not a combat ship, and you have science missions to do.
I'd play the fuck out of that.
I know, right? And then you get somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson to be the captain or something, right? And then he could just like narrate through what the hell's going on, and there is your actual science lesson from an astronomer who is explaining the phenomena that you are investigating and such. Right, and then you unlock new chapters in the lesson as you go, and you slip an education to the kids, and they don't even realize they got it.
You know, I feel like you want a game that's like No Man's Sky but Star Trek.
No, nothing at all like that. Because No Man's Sky is a little bit too random, right? I'm talking something more like look at all the good that Kerbal Space Program did, because it taught kids physics. And it explained like how gyroscopic momentum works in a vacuum.
But there's no real game there. It's just a sandbox, really, for the most part.
But it's the thing of like it's just like real life. There's the moon, do it.
Get there.
It's like get there because it's there. So, but yeah, I think the other thing that kind of inspired me to this,
it's like Kirk says, why do you climb a mountain? Because it's there.
Exactly.
God damn it!
I was waiting.
Sorry, I had to.
God damn it!
So the thing that kind of inspired me about that was actually William Shatner in Elite, right? With the whole voice pack that he did, where he's the voice of the computer and whatnot, and kind of narrates things in that. And I was just thinking, man, if that was Neely Ty, and he was actually talking about what you're looking at, like, hey, here's a binary star system, and this is how this works. Wow, that would be phenomenal. That would be educational, and there's redeeming value to it, and probably a significant tax break for the developer. Nudge wink. Government funding.
Yeah.
So can we get on that like right after your hang glider game?
Yeah. Well, I want to return to space after.
We would like to send
you
to space from whence you came.
You want to go back to Mars?
We'll jettison you to back to Mars.
I really would like to. I want to do a VR space game, but with the thing with Ultra Wings is that it's all controlled with motion controls, right? The touch stuff.
Right.
And,
how does that work with Oculus though? Because they don't have that yet, or are you only supporting Vive?
No. We are actually right now only supporting Rift, but it is right now a touch only game. Touch is coming out before the end of the year, and we'll be out.
Okay. Oh, so you're saying that you have something we don't have?
Oh.
Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh God, acid water, that now.
Whereas I'm still stuck in the same corridor.
Brian keeps roasting his marshmallows in the same spot.
It's pretty fun. It's just funny at this point.
I can't. Yeah. What's going on with that? So these.
Yeah. So the whole touch thing, right? Where
See
because
those?
you're the only person I know that has both a Rift and a Vive, right? and as soon as I take care of I'm still working, but I have a pending employment situation in about a month and a half, so I'm trying to secure something before then. And as soon as I do that, my gift to myself is a Rift or a Vive.
Right.
And I'm on the fence because I am with the Vive. People are like, oh, well, you have to have like a 6 foot by 6 foot area to like walk around in while your head's in the thing. No, what I want to do, I'm a sim guy. I want to sit in the chair, grab a stick and a throttle, and I'm flying something, right? So
Right.
which is the better experience for that sort of thing? And also, have you messed with Tridef and taken old games? Like you could take this game and run it through Tridef. It'll split it into stereoscopic, and you wire the mouse up to head track, and then you're playing with your VR.
I have not because I know that it'll make me sick as fuck. Excuse the language, but it'll make me sick. I am very susceptible to motion sickness. I'm one of those.
Oh, so the Vive's probably better for you because you are moving with it then.
Uh,
This is what I've heard is like if you're a little bit queasy from it, the games where you're actually standing up are better than the things where you're sitting down and the world moves around you.
So yeah, it's interesting. So I am not a huge fan of gamepad playing on VR. I've said this many times, but it just takes me out of the game. I'm playing a game. I know I'm playing a game, right?
But the only thing I've seen with the touch controls is like two guns that float disembodied in the air. You're like Ghost Gunfighter in that stuff. And that doesn't jive with me either.
Yeah, I mean, I have not played many touch games. We don't have access to everybody else's, work in progress games, and so I don't have much experience with touch. I know what we're doing is just not possible on Vive. I mean, it technically is possible, but the feeling you get with touch and the articulation with your fingers, and grabbing hold of the flight stick and grabbing hold of the throttle and manipulating the aircraft instruments with your hands, it's so natural feeling that you really don't realize that you're holding those touch controllers. It takes a little bit getting used to initially. There's a bit of a learning curve, but once you jumped over that hurdle, then the touch controllers completely melt in your hands and you don't even realize you're holding them. It's pretty surreal, actually. Whereas the Vive, you always know you're holding those wands. I mean, you just always do. The thing with the Vive, right, is you can walk around in a space, and that's awesome. I like it. Just for me, the Vive is a bit of a pain in the butt because I'm having to reconfigure my play space. I mean, I got to pull the office chair out. Right.
Well, that's like the problem that people had with the Kinect, right? Is like who has an empty living room to do that in?
Right. Yeah, not many.
So what would you say as far as the device itself, separate from the whole touch thing, but as far as the quality of the display, the visible area, the feel of having it on your face for a few hours, which would you go with just based on that?
Do you wear glasses?
Yes.
Okay.
I heard the Vive is a little more telescopic, so you can deal with that. But I'm not above getting. You can actually get glasses that are like the little John Lennon circle things, and they don't have ear arms where it just sits on the bridge of your nose, and you can get those like custom done, and people have said those work wonderfully with either one. So
Dude, I recommend. I have not gotten my lenses yet, but I have gotten my adapters. I'll show them to you on the camera. I participated in a Kickstarter. You see these right here? These are
Oh.
Yeah,
inserts.
hang on a sec.
Oh. Okay.
These are Vive inserts. I actually have Rift as well. But they are lens inserts that just pop into the headset in front of the lens, and you can get your prescription on it, or for the lenses. They pop into these, then these pop into the headset, and they basically
What?
glasses. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. You said that's for the Vive, not the Rift.
Oh no, they have a both.
Okay.
I'll show you the Rift ones.
Okay, for some reason I don't see a camera on my end. I don't know what I've done.
You have angered the Skype gods.
Oh,
these-
Martok.
These are the Rift adapters.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wait, Hunter, is it actually Martok? Like
No, it's the voice actor guy.
But it's not actually.
Hertzler. Yeah, that guy. Okay, I'm so stuck. I
He still has one eye though.
Oh, what? It's funny. Okay, I don't know where I'm supposed to go after this because it's clear I'm not supposed to move forward.
Hey, look at like this is another. I'm really not bragging about all these headsets, but look at this is from Razer. The HDK2.
So the deal with the Razer one, is it going to be a direct competitor to Oculus, or is it more like the Android phone things, where it's a headset kind of deal, but you have to stream to it? And
No, it's a direct competitor. The specs are basically almost on par with Rift in terms of resolution, and but the tracking, they do tracking, but I don't think it's as I have to play with it still, so I don't want to pass judgment, but they don't really have any motion control option, and that is
well, if you don't like it, I know somebody that'll take it off your hands.
okay. That's kiss of death. Like without, I don't think I can give this away. I actually told Razer that we would explore putting our game on using their headset, so we will see. We will probably support Vive unless we decide to do well, we're talking with Oculus about.
So what are you coding the game in? Is it
Unity.
Unreal? Oh, Unity. Okay,
Yeah.
so for Unity, right? And you've got Google Cardboard. So could you just click that button and compile it out as a Google Cardboard experience as well?
Not for our game, no.
Okay.
We're making an open world game, right? So I mean, they're streaming all of our islands stream in seamlessly. There's no loads. We have water shaders. We got shaders galore. I mean, it's a while the style of the game is fairly simplistic, right? So that we're not trying to melt your video card, and we need to maintain a solid 90 frames per second. But we're still rendering quite a bit. So
Okay.
could we do a mobile version? Theoretically, we could.
Yeah.
It would just mean really sort of scaling back what the game is and altering it. Plus the controls, what do you do with controls, right? At that point, you'd have to support a gamepad. And I'm not against that, but another thing that really sucks about the mobile VR stuff is that they don't do positional tracking.
Right.
And,
Well, the problem I'm trying to solve, right, is that I got a cardboard, and played around with that, and then I saw where for like $15 they had a plastic version of that actually had the strap and everything, and it fits on and it's comfortable. I mean, it feels like having a Rift on. The problem is you have to stick your cell phone in the front, right? And
Right.
in order to play like old games, like I was playing Fallout New Vegas and Alien Isolation with this thing, but there's lag in the stream because I'm having to pipe it over the Wi-Fi in the house from the PC to the phone, and you're trying to compress down 1080p and then send it across the Wi-Fi. So it's if it's like a tenth of a second behind, it makes a first-person shooter impossible, right? So for like a walking simulator kind of game, it would be fine. But the problem that I've got too is my phone is an HTC M9, and it's got an octa-core in it, which is way overkill for what any phone needs. Please don't do that again. And the phone, man, I could cook an egg on that bad boy after about 5 minutes, right? So it's like my eyeballs start to sweat. And so the other problem is that in order to get up the tether with USB, I'd have to reverse tether it, and then I can just use USB to transfer the thing, and it would be lag free. But I have to actually root the phone to do that, and I've had a bitch of a time rooting this phone for whatever reason. I need to take another run at it. But ultimately, what I would love to have is if somebody would just make a 1080p cell phone display that is no cell phone, it's just the display, and I can just pop a USB in there, right, or like a DV, right, like digital video cable, just go straight into it, and it treats my PC would just see that as a monitor. I could set the game up for 3D, side by side mode, and just throw it straight into that cardboard, and I would have a VR headset for $20 plus the screen.
They have that, but it's not, it's not cheap, right? But they have this. I don't know if you've seen this before. I'll post it in the chat.
Okay.
But this.
Well, I saw some people were making a headset that's a competitor, but it actually has like a full-on Android device in it.
Take a look at that.
Oh, no, that's kind of cool looking. I'm not digging the big ear cans on it because I got my own headphones, but
that projects images into your eyeballs, to your retina.
Oh, neat. So, is this going to be very similar to?
It's already out.
But the thing that's coming, Magic Leap. Have you seen any of that?
Well, that's augmented reality. That's
right, but it's the same tech where the Magic Leap is blending. I don't know how the hell they're doing it, but they sense where the edges of objects are and what occludes what, and then they make their projected things actually occluded behind. Like if it's my desk and a robot walks in the room, then it's not hovering over my desk. It's it's truncated at the line of that. How they do that got me. But I've seen the demo stuff for it, and it looks pretty amazing. But this, I guess it's doing the same deal, right? Where it's actually just putting it straight in the lens of your eye and using your retina as basically a projection screen, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have not played around with this. I kind of want one because, look at the specs, right? Look what it does. It does, side-by-side 3D content. It's 720p, but...
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
But because it's direct to your eye and you're not looking through a lens or something at a screen, so instead of looking at the thing, it's actually putting the thing in your retina.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I kind of want one.
And I think honestly that would maybe be a better solution all the way around than trying to see something that's a lens and then a screen, because you would miss. Well, just projection is naturally going to do anti-aliasing anyway, right? So you're not going to get like that screen door effect and all that baloney.
Yeah, right.
Yes, thank you,
yeah. So for like playing content, watching movies or even playing games, really, that probably would be pretty awesome. But man, I was in LA this past weekend at VR LA. I really wish you weren't busy and you could have came.
I'm sorry, that was the craziest fucking weekend. We had to go to the beach for a goddamn birthday party, which I didn't want to do. And
hey,
was
Brian,
it like a toddler birthday party?
I know.
See this guy's eyebrows?
His eyebrows are
Batman.
crazy.
Batman.
It's got bat brows.
I really wanted one of you guys, to like when you play a VR game with motion controls where you're actually interacting with, especially like a cockpit-based game, what we're doing and how you're actually, interacting with the control switches in a very natural manner, right? You're twisting stuff, you're flicking switches up, you're holding on to the flight stick like you would really hold on to the flight stick. so on and so forth. You can imagine a space game and doing similar things in a fighter craft, and be complete. Like forget the HOTAS, right? You don't need a HOTAS because because all of that instruments are built in, and you're actually interacting with it in the game.
Well, that's the thing with the Vive. I'm surprised that they bothered to go with those joystick things that you hold, those wands, because they have the islands, right, that are hung up in the corners of your room, and you could just have gloves with mocap dots on them, and it should be able to see like hands and fingers. What are you doing, right? Rather than just like, oh, I'm waving two wands around. So I'm a little shocked that they didn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. Like with the touch, it's a good little. It's not fully. It doesn't recognize all of your digits. It basically doesn't even track the placement of your fingers. What it does is that the buttons, every single button on that controller is capacitive. So and how it fits your hands. I mean, do you have video? Can you see video yet?
No, I can't.
I can.
Yeah,
Well,
I can.
Okay, you see how my hands are like naturally rested?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's actually two triggers. There's the trigger right here, and then there's a trigger underneath. And your middle finger rests on the trigger underneath, and then you're right. So when I want to grab something, I use this trigger underneath that my middle finger is rested. I just pull this, and I can grab stuff, just like sort of simulating grabbing stuff in real life. And then your forefinger, it knows like when it's resting on this button, and then when it's up, and it'll animate your hands in the game to mimic what you're doing. And it's the same thing with your thumb. So your thumb usually rests on the analog stick, or it rests on one of these space buttons on the controller. So when you lift your thumb up in the game, you'll see your thumb, your digital representation of your thumb lift up. So you can do like thumbs up. You can do pointing. You can do like a gun sort of mimic, a gun animation, and it responds in real time, and you see that your fingers animate in the game.
Hey, Corban.
Interesting.
Yeah. Have you seen our teaser trailer that we released?
Sorry, my first stop on the Enterprise.
For your hang glider game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And it made me sad I don't have VR. Now, let me ask you something about VR. There are a lot of games coming out that are VR right now. A lot of crap little games, I've noticed. And they're VR only. Do you think that's going to hurt them in the long run? Because I can't imagine the adoption rate of VR is so great that people are buying these games left and right.
I mean, it really depends on the budget. It depends on how much they're spending. A lot of these companies are. I just posted our website to the game. It's our placeholder site, but it'll give you sort of a very, very clear idea of what you're doing. Imagine that in VR, and imagine that. I mean, that's really what it feels like. I mean, it's pretty surreal.
It does look lovely. It really does. I mean, I want a VR headset for stuff like this. This does look fantastic.
So in terms of I mean, it really depends on the budget, and it depends on how much your studio's spending, whether or not you're getting funded or not. We are, in a sense, getting funded. So, but obviously, we still want to. We want to make money off of this thing, but our budget is so small that that I think there's a pretty good chance. The thing is that it's going to be interesting to see I've always predicted that VR is going to be a slow burn. It's you have to convert people, and I don't think it's going to take a lot of convincing to convert them. Once you play a really good VR game, it's kind of hard to go back. There just hasn't been very many good VR games. So, but it's like I'll tell you this: we had pilots try our game out at VRLA, And they basically said that they can't ever go back to a regular 2D simulator game.
Greetings, Lieutenant.
It's like it's like being a millionaire and suddenly having all the money taken away and now you're poor. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to fathom to living that lifestyle and then going back to such an inferior sort of control method and experience after they played us. I mean, they called our game the most realistic sort of simulator they've ever experienced. But on the flip side, like what's interesting about flying ultralights is that, you know, they are not terribly hard to fly, even in real life. You don't need an FAA license to fly one. And we had everybody from, you know, grandmas to 10-year-old kids fly and actually land, which is kind of a miracle. And so it's an accessible flight sim, but it is a sim, and you are, you know, we do simulate the aircraft physics, you know, pretty accurately. So anyway,
No, that's I'm just walking around this Enterprise you made.
Yeah,
you
so
can get
It's
past it.
impressive.
so
Exactly.
speaking of the Enterprise in this game, what would you say was probably your favorite part of building this game? Like, what was your absolute just favorite part?
Let me think.
What was it? Finding out where the bathroom is on the Enterprise?
Yeah. um,
Because that would interest me. Apparently, there is one.
Wait, on this Enterprise in this
no,
game?
we didn't put it. I don't think we put a bathroom in there.
No, no,
Maybe.
no. On the Enterprise D, there was like a behind the scenes of the Next Generation hosted by Jonathan Frakes, and he's like, people have often wondered where the bathroom is, and he points to the big display of the Enterprise that's on the back side of the bridge there, like behind everybody, and like they do a zoom in, and it's like bathroom, and it's just like this one little square, like in the center of the ship.
So I think my favorite thing was honestly working with the level designers and really sort of I mean I worked hand in hand with those guys on creating sort of the major beats of each level and then giving them feedback, and that back and forth process was, you know, when you work with super talented people and it's just a joy to work with. Also animation. I mean, I work quite closely with the animators on getting the weapon animations feeling right,
Hazard
and
operations.
and even some of the in-game animations of the enemies that you faced. Um, a lot of tweaks went into to their animations too. So, but my favorite was no doubt the level designers. I mean, meeting Patrick Stewart was nice, but I don't get starstruck, so it wasn't like I wouldn't call it the highlight. It was just a nice perk. Um,
Well, it's good to know you're immune to us then.
Thank God.
Hey, by the way, I did get my video working. Can you hold that touch control back up? I want
Yeah.
to see what the heck that was.
yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's wow, way smaller.
yeah. And see those little sensors? Those are
Uh-huh.
actually invisible to the naked eye, but they're detected
I've greatly improved my medical skills.
only.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, through the camera.
So the camera, the way that they're doing this, right, is the Oculus is still going to have just a single camera that's in front of you. So it's going to
No.
use those dots to detect.
Yeah. So
Because I could see motion, right? If you move it, it's going to see the motion.
yeah. Touch actually ships with a second camera.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a separate. Well, it's like a sensor. But yeah, it ships with the second one. And basically, how I have it configured is I have the second one on top of a shelf that angles about 45 degrees down, looking at me, and then I have one on, you know, facing at the height of my head when I'm sitting. And basically, what I do when I play the game, I do have to scoot my chair back, you know, away from the desk to give ample amount of space, as I'm doing right now, and then, you know, I'll try to mimic how I play, but it's, you know, I don't hold my hands this high. Obviously, you can, you rest your hands on your footrest or even on your lap, but you're literally like holding the stick and moving the stick around and reaching down and grabbing the throttle and pulling the throttle up and all that. I mean, you're doing what you would really do in an aircraft. It's not gamepad where it's just flicking, analog sticks or triggers. So
Okay, that's really cool.
it works amazingly well. We showed the game at VRLA this past weekend, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. People called us game of the show. So
Since you're doing an ultralight sim, could you are all of your ultralights with like a stick in front of you, or do you have some that are the bar, like it's a hang glider?
Oh, right. No, so basically what we're doing is it's not truly, I mean, we have an ultralight in the game, but we have other aircraft. So we're doing ultralight. Right now we're slated to do, I think, 4 different aircraft. But ultralights, we have a stunt plane. We have a glider, not a hang glider, but one of those wide wing gliders. And, and then we're probably going to do a gyrocopter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was thinking for the VR thing, like if you wanted to do just a glider kind of deal.
Oh, like a hang glider?
Yeah, just put a hang glider in there and then like just simulate like, okay, well, we're going to start you at like 5,000 feet and down the side of a hill. Yeah. Because I used to watch guys, because from my grandmother's house, there was a farm that was a couple miles away, and it had a really big hill that was no trees on the one side, and people would just like all summer long they'd be up that thing with hang gliders and stuff, and it was really neat to watch them.
I would love to do a hang glider game, and I mean, you could do one. The only thing I worry about it is fatigue with your arms, because with a hang glider game, you're going to be holding the bar.
Yeah, you could sell it as a fitness app.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be holding it to like your chest level, right? And I can't imagine like not being able to rest your arms for a good. I mean, I don't know, how long do the hang gliders stay up? 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's a while.
That's a long time for that. So,
well, then you sell them an accessory, which is basically like a T-shaped broomstick, and you can.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because Valve just, I don't know if you saw the news reports, but Valve basically open sourced their tracking system for the Vive, so that you can actually become you can manufacture your own tracking controllers now.
Oh, weird. Okay, that's really neat, and I think that's gonna push a lot of innovation in their stuff, where the Oculus is gonna really lag behind now. Because look at the Wii, right, and how much third-party stuff came out for the Wii. Granted, most of it was trash, right, but it was just like a flood in the market of like, here's accessories from hell.
Yeah.
So
well,
it adds perceived value.
I think where you'll likely see that stuff really take off with Valve is for commercial and even like theme park rides and theme park attractions, and you'll see that sort of gain a lot more momentum, I think. Whereas for home, I think Oculus will probably rule the roost for home experiences, simply because A, it's cheaper, and B, you don't need really a room. And you don't need a room with the Vive, but I mean, let's be honest here. Most, if not all, Vive games are room scale experiences, and for good reason. For good reason. I mean, that's the core focus of the product. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years. But I'll be honest with you, the touch controllers that these are so, you have to use them. They look a little weird, and it's like what wireless, and they're small and they're tiny, dude. When you use them let's say give it 10 minutes, it's hard to go back to anything else. I mean, really is.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I've been seeing, just looking at the Steam store, is a lot of the stuff that's coming out is very experimental, but it's kind of like one trick pony. They're not taking a traditional game thing. It's almost like it's VR toys.
Yes.
Right, like how the Wii, whenever it came out, it's a good parallel because it was a bunch of like shovelware of like, this is
right.
entertaining for 5 minutes, and
Yep.
yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'm not a fan of that. Right? I wasn't a fan of that on the Wii,
Yes, sir.
and I'm not a fan of it on VR.
We won't let
I just want to play traditional games with my head in the game. I don't want to do new things. It's just like, let me play Fallout, looking around. That's all I want.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way, but on the flip side, so my biggest concern with if you think about traditional games and the traditional long form games, I should say, so stuff like Fallout, stuff like Skyrim, the idea of spending all that time in the world is awesome, right? Like being in that world and being able to look around and physically feeling like you're there. Man, it sounds like, I mean, so amazing that, you just can't wait to do it, right? Except when you actually do it and you get tired after 10 minutes and you're like, I need a break. And it ends up becoming incredibly fatiguing to do it. And so I question, especially a game like Fallout, where you can really get sort of lost in it for hours at a time, right? You spend a whole afternoon. I mean, you spend a whole day there. There's no way you're going to be able to do that in VR. No way. Your average gamer will not be able to do it. And I would say most people would not be able to do it. It's just a fatiguing experience. The headsets, especially the Vive, weighs a lot more than the Rift. The Rift is very light. Very, very light. The Vive is not so much. Is quite a bit heavier, and just walking around, dude. I mean, it's wild. And then when you get into combat, I mean, forget about it, right? It's like
So the traditional monitor experience isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
No, not at all. And the thing is that what we're doing, like we're making a open world game where it's about 10 hours worth of gameplay, but you play it in bite-sized chunks. So, you play it at like 5 minutes at a time. So each sort of mission is about 5 minutes. And so you have this constant feeling of progression, but, we don't stick you in the game for, there's periods of rest, right? And that's where we see VR gaming really right now, where you need to focus on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It totally does.
So, creating like these huge epic games for VR is overkill, right? I mean, it just totally is. You have to design around the strengths of the technology rather than try to shoehorn. Like for example, No Man's Sky, man, sounds like a great thing for VR, right? Terrible game for VR. I mean, just terrible.
I thought you were going to just leave that in general. Just like I can feel that there was like a flood warning that went out. It was just like there may be flood of tears anytime.
Well,
I think honestly IGN did the disservice there because the game, I liked it at the scale that it was, but then the hype train got it, and then everybody's just like, this is the last game you'll ever need. It does everything, and there's
no one said that.
What was interesting though is like I saw recently Kotaku just like put out this article, and this is just a testament of just the bad journalism at Kotaku. Is that there was two? So they say they originally were kind of vague on the whole single player multiplayer thing at the beginning. It was kind of like one of those things. Well, the universe is so big, it's like a 1 in quintillion like chance that you'll ever run into anybody, right? That was kind of like what they were saying. And then they eventually came out and just said, well, no, it's just straight up single player. It's not multiplayer at all. You're not going to interact with anybody. Don't even like think about it, right? And so then apparently two Twitch streamers were like, "Oh hey, we've like we're on the same planet. Let's like link up and like find each other." And they're like surprised because apparently they're in a different instance. And I'm thinking to myself, guys, what?
Nobody
Why?
got the memo.
I don't understand why everybody's making such a big deal about this game. One and two, why no one's like reading any information from the developer, because you look at the Steam page for No Man's Sky, it clearly says single player game. Like
Yeah.
I do not understand.
Because everybody wants
Stupid
that
people.
game to be something that they dreamed of, right? And it's like, it seems like it's so close to being everyone's dream game that it ends up might be no one's dream game. I don't know. I'm about, I guess I'm about an hour into it, and I've repaired my ship, and dude, I love it, man. It scratches that itch for me of like wandering around a planet, flying into a ship, getting, going. I haven't even gone to another planet yet. I don't even want to.
You can't touch the red, Brian. Don't touch the red stuff.
I just want to like stay on this planet
Got it.
and 100% it before venturing off. I don't know. It's like for me, I'm so terrible at like Twitch games that this like just screams like a relaxing game that, yeah, it has some survival stuff to it, but I haven't found it to be that pervasive yet. And I don't know, man. I could see myself sinking 40, 50 hours into this thing, just sticking around, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. I just, God, if you could just bring a friend with you, that's the thing that kills me. Like Skyrim, probably the greatest game
Same thing.
that's come
Yep.
out yet. And if I could just have one other person in there with me, that would be great. Especially whenever they do stuff like they do in Fallout, where it's like, hey, here's a builder mechanic. Like you can build towns and stuff. But nobody can come see it.
Right.
And it's like, man. It's,
Right, and
you'd
they're
think
planning
these
on-
people are Nintendo or something.
And from what I understood, they're going to add the base building feature later in No Man's Sky, if I was reading that correctly from the developer. It's a feature that's going to come later. I don't quote me on that. I thought I read that, but I could have read it wrong.
Yeah, you read correctly.
But
And no spoilers, but when people get to the end of No Man's Sky, if you thought that there was rage about the Mass Effect 3 ending, that's all I'm going to say.
well, let's just not go there on that one. But what I was going to say is I think Jim hit a really good point. Is I think developers are missing when you make a game like No Man's Sky or Skyrim for that matter. When you make a game that's like that, I feel like you should almost consider adding in like a drop in, drop out, maximum of 4 friend co-op. You know what I'm saying? Like you can still have your normal same experience, but you can, like, with Borderlands, like I could play the game by myself, but I could also bring in a friend to share the experience with me. And I know a lot of people are actually really excited about the idea of just like not having to deal with griefers in this galaxy of No Man's Sky. They can actually just relax and enjoy and play. And part of me agrees with that, but part of me was like, I'd love to have a friend tag along and enjoy it with me too. But
Well, like in my situation, because my wife plays games too, not MechWarrior though, but peer pressure will cure this. But it's like she'll play Ark, I'll jump in Ark with her, whatever. We both have Subnautica. Don't play Subnautica because I can't see her stuff, she can't see mine.
Right.
But
Okay.
they're planning on adding that feature though.
Someday maybe. I talked to him the other night, and it's like, yeah, it's so far back burner you can't even see it. So yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I hear you. I definitely I understand completely.
But the rest of the game looks great though.
Yeah.
So have you played, as a space game guy, have you played what did they call Enemy Starfighter? I can't even remember what the name.
House of
House of the Dying
Sun.
Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you messed with that in 3D with the headset?
I did. When it first came out, I played it. I died very, very quickly. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
It's a hard game. It's a challenging game.
It looked nice. The thing again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with gamepad playing VR games with a gamepad, or or even to some extent like Elite. I mean, when I first played Elite with the DK2, and I had a HOTAS set up, it was incredibly immersive, right? And I was like in ooh and ah, and wow, this is the future, and blah blah blah. And now playing a VR game with a gamepad is just so counterintuitive when I'm used to seeing my hands in the world it's a waste of time. I just won't do it. I want to play House of the Dying Sun with interactive, console, and just like what we're doing now. I want everybody to basically do what we're doing with Ultra Rings, with space games and other flight games, because to me that's the most immersive, and that's what VR is made for.
Well, keyboard and mouse is problematic when you can't see the keyboard and mouse too.
Right. And so exactly, and that's and I hear you, but that's why like even these third-person games that are coming out for Rift, that are played with a gamepad. I mean, look, dude, let's be honest. Wearing headsets is not the most comfortable thing in the world, right? So, I mean, it's called spade a spade. It's really not that comfortable. I would probably rather not be wearing a headset than wearing a headset, to be honest with you. So
yeah, but I think shortly they might shrink it down to just be like wearing a pair of eyeglasses.
Probably. But for me, it's like if I'm going to put on a headset and play a game, I want it to put me in the world. I want to feel like I'm there. That's why I'm playing a VR game, right? And when I play a VR game with the fucking gamepad, I'm not in the world. I'm a puppet master controlling a puppet, but I'm not really there. I don't see my hands. I'm not really interacting with the world in any meaningful way. So that's why like VR games with gamepad is a non-starter for me, and I think for most people it's going to be like that. And then once you play a game that has I'm just toot my own horn. You play Ultra Wings, and you see your hands, and you're interacting with the world and interacting with your cockpit. It's like watching color after watching black and white the whole time.
Oh god, the rage is real. Now PC Gamer's talking about the same Kotaku article. What the hell? Guys, Jesus.
I'm sorry. How'd this even come up?
Anyway. No, it's the new journalism. It's the snake journalism. Eats its own tail. Yeah.
That's not. 2, 1. Anyway,
rage.
So where are you at in the game now?
Oh, I just made it to the Dallas.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a great level.
I just made it to the Dallas, and I saw some creepy thing, and I had to stop because I don't like creepy things. They scare me a lot, and I will jump out of my seat if something comes at me.
I want to play the Alien mod for this, where they just stick a xenomorph in there. It's like it's Star Trek, but all of a sudden, out of the vent. Ah!
So I'm trying a solo match. I'm shooting Picard. Yeah, that's right. Fuck you, Baldy.
The Dallas level is probably one of my most favorite levels in the game because of how atmospheric it is with the floating dead bodies. And,
god, it's so atmospheric. But I crawled through one Jeffrey's tube, and next thing I know, I see a tail of something.
Yeah.
creeping around. Like no. I had to stop.
The great thing about that Dallas mission, which was really cool, is how it starts out, where it's just like, we're receiving a distress signal from the Dallas about some strange thing. They're warning every ship in the area to stay away. And Picard's kind of like, screw it, we got the hazard team. Take us to the Dallas. And you're just like, oh god, but they just said stay away.
Why is it that the Enterprise is always the only ship in the quadrant? The quadrant's really big.
Always the only ship, or the closest ship, at the very least.
You want to know what? You know the one that kills me the most is Star Trek Generations, when they are like within the Earth's solar system, and they get a distress signal, and they're the only ship in range.
Well,
In-
everybody else
at-
kind of ran down
At
to the store.
Earth, yeah,
At
yeah.
the Earth
at
versus
Earth.
There was the Mars, like there's the Mars shipbuilding. Like, what the hell? How are they the only ship in range in the Earth solar system?
Because that's what the writers needed. Which is annoying as fuck.
Couldn't they have like launched from like another like
Let's
I don't know.
let's wrap this up on a positive note, though. Has everyone seen Star Trek Beyond?
Yes, I saw
No.
It was a fuck ton of fun.
It was.
It was so much fun. I was shocked at how much just balls to the wall fun it was. Like, you see you see that scene in the trailer where there's a motorcycle. You're like, what the hell is a motorcycle doing here?
Yeah.
But in the movie, it makes perfect sense, and
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Well, and it connected because the first time we met Kirk, he was on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
All right. So
I thought
I
he was
thought it was
driving a
interesting-
Corvette. I thought he was
I thought-
driving that classic Corvette when we first met.
yeah, but didn't he have a motorcycle in the first one as well?
He did later when he
Well,
was an
kind
adult.
of. Okay.
Yeah, when he was an adult, he had a motorcycle. So
Anyway,
yeah.
the interesting homage to Enterprise was interesting. Like I was kind of surprised by that.
Oh, that they mentioned, like, what was it the Kazin War or whatever, the Zinti War?
No. Like the little ship they find, like that's an old NX ship. Like that's
Well-
the exact same.
Well, if you think about it, Enterprise is apparently now the only stuff that has happened pre-Kelvin timeline. If you think about it.
Well, the Kelvin timeline's also different for a number of other reasons, though. The ship
But what
design.
I'm saying is the Enterprise the Enterprise era stuff happened both in Prime and Kelvin.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. It happened before the split,
Sure.
which I like.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was neat that they went back to that. I like that. The only downside of that movie is that the bad guy's motivation made no sense. Just revenge, apparently. Okay.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were
Yeah.
saying.
But beyond that, it's very Trekky. Even everyone gets their moment, even if it's a really little moment. Everyone gets a moment, which is great. And the best thing about it, a lot more McCoy.
Yeah.
he almost didn't come back for this film because he felt like his character didn't get enough screen time in the other two.
He didn't. He was the biggest waste. He was the biggest wasted resource in the previous two movies. Totally. But they gave him a lot more to do in this one, and it worked great. Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen Star Trek Beyond, go see it. It's actually a ton of fun. So let's start wrapping this up. Guys, we're going to be revisiting this game again on Thursday to do some multiplayer because it works over Evolve, and it worked just, again, like the installing out the box. Just boom, just worked. It was great. So it was really nice. So we're going to play some multiplayer over Evolve on Thursday nights. Now, next week is a big deal for a couple of reasons, folks. Just the last thing. Monday, I'm taking the day off because it's Space Game Junkie's 5th anniversary. So I'm going to be streaming shit all day. Good games, bad games. Going to be having a trivia contest. I still have to come up with stuff for that. Giveaways, all kinds of stuff. That's next Monday, as you're listening to this, the 15th of August. Next Thursday, the 18th of August, we are having a meetup inside Elite Dangerous. We're all meeting at Tumbao Station in Orcus, and we're going to cause a ruckus. So if you have Elite Dangerous, head on down to Orcus, and we're all going to be
What
flying.
day is that?
Huh? It's the 18th, next Thursday, not this
Okay.
coming Thursday. We're all going to be flying Cobra Mark IIIs, so that no one's like, oh, I can't jump as far as you in my Vulture. Too bad. Get a goddamn Cobra. So we're all going to be in Cobras, and we're all going to fly around and do shit. So that's next Thursday, the 18th. So there's a bunch of shit coming up.
What did you say the occasion was that you're
There's-
doing that? Is it
There's
'cause of
no
the
occasion for
Gamescom?
the Elite thing. Just someone
Oh.
said, we should have a get-together. I'm like, that's a great idea.
Should.
So we're doing it. The details of that are on Space Game Junkie, as are the details for the 5th anniversary streamathon, I'm calling it. And again, there are contests, so I'm basically paying you to show up and celebrate with me. That's really, there's a lot of shit coming up. So any last words, you guys, or should we wrap this thing up?
Let's get this wrapped.
All right, well, Chris, finally, where can folks find you online? Like, where can they check out your game and your other games? Where can people find you online?
You got a Twitter?
Yeah.
Twitter? You got Twitter?
At BitPlanet Games, bitplanetgames.com, and ultrawingsgame.com.
All right, so it's again BitPlanet Games, BitPlanetGames.com, and UltraWingsGame.com. And Ultra Wings is the game. It's not out yet, but it's coming out. Right?
It's coming. Yeah,
And again,
You
right
got
now,
a time frame on that?
yeah.
December.
Oh, nice. And again, right now, folks, as we're recording this for the entire week, the Soul games, Fleets of Soul and Battle for Soul, they're both on sale.
50% off. Yeah.
50% off on Steam's week-long sale. So if you haven't checked them out, they're a good time. They're a fun, story-driven piece of popcorn, like a summer movie. You know, it's just fun. You know, so check that out. So, Chris, thank you for coming on the fourth or fifth time to talk about not just Elite Force 2, which is turning out to be a great game that I want to play more of, but all the VR stuff and all the drama about working at Remedy and working for Activision. I had no idea that Activision basically sabotaged their own franchise. That is just
not many people do. It's one of those.
That's so crushing. That's so stupid and crushing.
Yeah, I'm just stoked to find out that Chris and I probably partied together and didn't even know it.
Yeah, I was there, my friend. I was there.
Oh my god.
Well, after about a half hour hanging out with Richard, I didn't know who was there. I was barely even there myself.
Well, thank you everyone for watching and for listening. Oh, and next week on the show, we're doing an early show at 6 a.m. Pacific. We just got the developer for Dual Universe. Sadly, we don't have a playable build to try beforehand, but hopefully we'll get some good questions in. But yeah, next Tuesday is, I forgot about this, the 6 a.m. Pacific podcast for Dual Universe. So check that out, and I think that's it. Anybody else have any last things to add before I wrap it?
No, man. Stay tuned for Thursday, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. This is a fun multiplayer game. Seriously.
Yeah, so Chris, with the VR headsets...
I think he's gone.
No, he's still there.
Oh.
So with the VR headsets, like I'm still trying to make a decision.
I haven't cut the thing yet. We're still
the
live.
The Oculus or the Vive.
Oh my god.
Like
Bye, everyone.
Which one would you say is